Hello, my name's Maureen Brown and I'm a National Trustee for Towns Women's Guilds. When asked to talk about a woman who deserves to be written into history, I decided to talk about a woman who is still highly active in her chosen field, and there will be undoubtedly much more to say about her in the future. The woman I have chosen to talk about is called Cristiana Figueres. And on her website, CristianaFigueres.com, her biography reads as follows. Miss Figueres is an internationally recognised leader on global climate change. She was the Executive Secretary of the United Nations Framework Convention on Climate Change between 2010 and 2016. Assuming responsibility for the international climate change negotiations after the failed Copenhagen Conference of 2009, she was determined to lead the process to a universally agreed regulatory framework. Building toward that goal, she directed the successful conferences of the parties in Cancun in 2010, Durban 2011, Doha 2012, Warsaw 2013 and Lima 2014, and culminated her efforts in the historical Paris Agreement of 2015. Throughout her tenure, Ms Figueres brought together national and subnational governments, corporations and activists, financial institutions and communities of faith, think tanks and technology providers, NGOs and parliamentarians to jointly deliver the unprecedented climate change agreement. For this achievement, Ms Figueres has been credited with forging a new brand of collaborative diplomacy. These facts presented on their own are impressive and make Cristiana worthy of being written into history. But I believe it is her skills to encourage, inspire and enable people that will confirm her place in history. Cristiana comes from Costa Rica, a country led to democracy by her own father. In 1948, the government refused to accept the result of democratic elections and brought in the military. Cristiana's father, José Figueres Ferrer, led a revolutionary army of a few courageous men and women who against all odds defeated the government forces. He then disbanded his army, outlawed the National Army and redirected the military budget to education and health. She credits her success to her father, who taught her about stubborn optimism, the mindset that is necessary to transform the reality we are given into the reality we want. I will come back to the topic of stubborn optimism, but first, what led Cristiana to get involved with climate change? When asked by a journalist for The Guardian in 2015 why she chose to work on climate change, she told a story about the once common golden toad that went extinct in Costa Rica in 1989. I saw this species when I was a little girl, but when I had my two little girls, the species no longer existed, she said. It had just a huge impact because I realised that I was turning over to my daughters, who were very, very young, they were born in 1988 and 1989, a planet that had been diminished by our carelessness, by our recklessness. Many might have believed that getting 195 nations to agree to the Paris Agreement was the pinnacle of their career. But Cristiana is still working hard to ensure that global warming is kept below 2 degrees. Together with Tom Rivett-Carnac, they have founded the Global Optimism organisation. They believe that through stubborn optimism we can cut global emissions in half between 2020 and 2030 and eventually reach net zero by 2050. Their brand of optimism is not soft, but stubborn optimism is a mindset based on grit and determination in the face of difficult circumstances. At the Stockholm Food Forum, Cristiana asked the people at the opening session, Have you ever heard of anything that was achieved that started with defeatism? Optimism is not the result of success, it is the starting point of success. If you would like to know more about how we can all use stubborn optimism to fight climate change, I recommend reading their book, The Future We Choose: Surviving the Climate Crisis. The book is inspiring, but does not shy away from the realities of the climate crisis or the challenges we will face to reach net zero by 2050. Cristiana had been involved in climate change negotiations since 1995. Initially a member of the Costa Rican negotiating team, she was also a member of the Executive Board of the Clean Development Mechanism and Vice President of the Bureau of the Conference of the Parties in 2008 and 2009. In 1995, she founded the Center for Sustainable Development of the Americas, a non-profit think tank for climate change policy and capacity building, which she directed until 2003. Before that, she served as a director of the Technical Secretariat, Renewable Energy in the Americas. Cristiana and Tom have also founded the Global Optimism organisation, whose mission statement reads, "Global optimism exists to catalyse transformative actions in our world." It hosts a weekly podcast, Outrage and Optimism. They aim to change the mood about climate change from one of doom to one of optimism, where the world will be a more equal and healthier for everyone. They've also, very recently, started the Count Us In website, which aims to bring people and organisations together to fight climate change. It has a 16-point action plan and asks us all to pledge to fight climate change. Individuals can sign up and there's an aggregator to total up carbon savings. It also supports companies and organisations to become more sustainable by encouraging them to engage in discussions with their employees and educate them about climate change. It does this by providing support in the form of hubs tailored to their particular needs. I will leave you with this short extract from The Future We Choose and remind you that Cristiana is still creating her story, as we all are. We are all weavers of the grand tapestry of history. As we cast our minds back and consider those who lived at moments of great consequence, we naturally feel that if we had lived then, we would have been among those who made the noble choices rather than those who stumbled along, head down, changing nothing. Well, this is our chance. Every one of the needed actions is something you can personally achieve as a human being, even if that boils down to urging others to take it seriously.